Hello and welcome to our first live stream event for HDB Cereals and Oilseeds and the Dis Monitor Farm. It's brilliant to have you joining us, whether you're watching. Hello and welcome to our first live stream event for HDB. Whether you're watching via Facebook, via YouTube, or via our Dis webpage. I'm Teresa, Meadows, Knowledge Exchange Manager in East Anglia, and I'm here today with Richard, who's on farm in Suffolk. Do you want to introduce yourself as well, Richard?
Yeah, morning everybody. So here we are at Rookery Farm in this beautiful spot just down the bottom meadows of just behind the farm. And we've got some machinery out here. We're out in the field. We don't really know what's going to happen. We could lose signal or we could get very wet. It's all going to be a bit of fun. So, yeah.
Brilliant. So we thought, because of coronavirus, it's not quite the same at the moment, and we're not able to meet in Worthing Village Hall, are we, Richard? We thought we've chatted to our steering group, to Tom and to Marion, Stuart and James, and everybody, along with lots of other reviewers, said that actually you're really missing that, being practical, being out, getting your boots muddy. And so we thought that this might bring you a flavour of that and to be out in the field. So Richard and Gary, who we've got as chief cameraman today, has set up a few things for you to see, and others around. There's a couple of other things that we can see around the farm too if we get to that later on. So we'd encourage you to message in, send us your comments, send us your questions as we go through. We can ask them to Richard live. Let us know what you think. I can read them out. We can't see you, but they'll come in through to us, and we'll do that. We're planning to be here for about half an hour to go through that. So the plan is to update you on what's been going on for harvest, some of the things that Richard and Gary on the farm have been doing with their machinery and trying out this winter, and then a chat about how things have gone for establishment, a way just to keep in touch with what we'd normally be doing with the Monitor Farm and share some things that are going on. So, Richard, yeah, you're going to give us a bit of a background to how did Harvest 2020 go for you in the end after a difficult autumn and year?
Yeah, so we'll start on the wheats because there was quite a lot of variation with those this year. So we had the end of October drill, which is when the majority of us were able to drill last year, and that was 9.15 tonnes per hectare across the farm. On those fields drilled then. But then what was quite interesting when I was looking back at all these yields the other day is we then drilled some more in mid-November to early December, and the average for those was 6.2, so quite a drop off, and clearly shouldn't have been in the field. But then we also tried a field in early February, sort of first week of February, when conditions started to warm up, started to improve. And that was 7 tonne a hectare, and actually with where the wheat price was back then, and I managed to lock into a bit of price. There's profitability in there at that level, not much, but there was some, and it was certainly better than the 6.2 of the stuff that we'd muddled in late on in mid-November. So but as an overall average of the whole farm, we were at 7.98, which given the year, given the amount of challenging situations we were thrown at, we had quite a sustained dry period in the spring, which hurt us on our light land, but the heavy land fields were the ones that produced the goods. So yeah, quite pleased in the end. So going on to winter oilseed rape, very varied. We had huge areas in some fields where the flea beetle had taken them out with lack of moisture, and we always knew that they were going to let the side down. But by the time we'd averaged it all out over the whole field areas, we were at 2.96 tonne a hectare. Winter beans were a little bit on the disappointing side. We had the field that's sort of just the other side of this tractor that was a 3.31, but then the field above it, we had a drainage issue, which we didn't fully sort of realise was there. It was a developing situation where an old ditch line had never been piped. It had just had brash and that pushed into it by a previous landowner, and had basically just decided that last year was the year that it was going to stop being effective. So ended up the beans suffered. So our overall average, by the time we had an area on that field we weren't able, that just didn't come to anything. Overall average on that was 2.91 tonne a hectare. And then the spring beans that were on some heavier soils, they were 3.4, which again were a little bit on the disappointing side, but we had a mixed bag where some went into really good conditions and grew really well, and actually were good beans. But then we had another field that let the side down, and that was just a timing at which we drilled the crop. We just didn't quite catch it as it was. We sort of missed that opportune moment because we were actually putting spring barley in, and we probably should have been drilling a bit more beans. So that takes me nicely onto the spring barley. So we've got the medium to light land here was 7.1 tonne a hectare, which I thought, yeah, very, very nice, good crop yields there. But actually, it was the heavy land that really surprised us. We knew there was a good crop there, but we didn't realise that, you know, it averaged out across all of it at 8.22 tonne a hectare, which, you know, and it's hit spec. So that's the crop of the year for us. I'm now hoping that roll on another year. We've had crap conditions to drill our wheat again. So let's see if let's hope the spring barley is going to be the crop of this next year and get us out of this and lift our spirits and yeah. And that,
so what would be your normal average 5-year rolling average for wheat?
5 years, just under 10 tonne. So yeah, it's not. We are down. We're definitely down. So, but our 5-year average is about to take another knock because we're not going to get to those levels again this year because the fields just haven't gone into good enough conditions. But you don't need that many poor areas to ruin your average. So, but that's Mother Nature. That's why we love it. You know, that's a different challenge each year. But we've got, definitely, you know, looking forward. You know, the thing that is different to last year is we've got winter barley in the ground. We've got more wheat in the ground than we had this time last year. So there's still plenty of opportunity. I've still got another 40 hectares that I would love to drill with wheat. But looking back at the results from last year, I'm not going to rush out there and muddle it in now. I think we'll wait and try and be patient on it, even if that means we're waiting till next spring before we drill it.
Yeah, well, it was really interesting that you've broken down how those different fields yielded given when you put them in and that difference. So yeah, there's a lot to learn, sadly, from last year because we've got another year the same, haven't we? Kind of for doing it. I wonder if so anybody else kind of in the local DIS area, hopefully you're joining us. We've got about 30 people watching us live, Richard, via YouTube, and a few more on Facebook and online. So if you want to put any comments in, let us know how your yields have gone. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, you need to be logged in order to write comments. But if you'd like to text me anything as you go through, my number is 07387 015 465. I now feel like we're on a live shopping channel or something, Richard. But yeah, no, keep in touch. WhatsApp me or text me if you've got any questions, or log in to do it. So you've done some different things this winter, Richard and Gary, and been tinkering in the workshop over the summer, and you've got some machinery behind you to show us. Which one are we going to start on? Where are we going to start?
Yeah, well, I think if we go across, Gary, to where the Grange machine is.
So this is your cat, isn't it, Richard? Your primary work that we did our tryout last year, looking at how much compaction it does, and yeah. So at the moment we've got the cat and we've got the John Deere. Now I just wanted to sort of like I've been sort of crunching a few numbers and looking at a few different things, because obviously last year we had a slightly different machine to this. It had the same leading discs, and then it also had the very similar tines that we were using, but it didn't have the packer that's on the back. Now, what we then had was a drawbar on the back of that, where we were then towing the carrier that you can see just there, and that was sort of like a one-pass machine.
So, and that was costing us about £46.62 a hectare on the back of the cat to do primary cultivations. Now, the machine that we did have, it had a few issues with running costs were a little bit high, hence the figure. So what? Now I've recrunched all these numbers and gone through it. So with the cat on the back, with the cat on the front of this machine, we're now looking at £30, just over £30.19 a hectare. So if you're doing 400 hectares, that comes out to just over £12,000. And if I tell you on those same 400 hectares, the year before it was costing us 18,600. So there's quite a difference in setup. So, but then what I've then thought, well, what's the difference between this cat and the John Deere? And I sort of worked the numbers out on those. So bear in mind, these tractors are both very similar horsepower, and actually very similar price range in if I wanted to buy one or sell one. So the John Deere is actually 27.78 per hectare if the John Deere was on this Grange machine. So, you know, it's a saving of another £1,000 just by taking the cat off and putting the John Deere on this machine. So
we've got a question along those lines come in from Philip, who's saying, tyre or track, Richard? Which one are you going to sell first?
So track I will sell first, and it's purely and I don't know if Gary can get down close enough with the camera. I'm just readjust his legs. So just want to have a quick look at these legs that are on here, because I think this is quite an interesting fact, and this is something that we are seeing.
While he does that, Tom Bradshaw has said your yields are better than Essex, Richard. So there you go.
Oh, good, thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
So yeah, I don't know if can you see where my finger's pointing?
Yeah.
Can you see this? So that is all created by the tracks on that machine.
Right.
All the other legs don't have that. That is purely the only one running behind the tractor that's doing the work.
Yeah, there you go. And yeah, which is a big impact, isn't it, on your wearing metal and everything like that.
Yeah.
Tom Rash has just kind of messaged to say what's the future of the Caterpillar as well, and similarly to Philip, you know, and kind of asking why. Is it because of a more flexible working window, or does it come down to costs? Or I guess we know it's another impact as well.
Yeah, I mean, one thing we did find out this summer is when it got dry and hard, when we actually put the John Deere onto this, because it's on its big boots and its big wide flotations, which Gary's now going to show, so turn around and show the tyres that it's on. What we actually found was that tractor actually did struggle a little bit for traction when it got dry and hard, especially on heavy clays. And actually, you know, as Harry Henderson would say, traction only comes through weight and grip, and that's what you've got in a Caterpillar. And at the moment, that's why it's fundamentally still here at this moment. But we are moving away from this machine. That is for sure. And probably if we now wander out into the field before it starts to rain, we'll
established with the Grange?
Sorry?
Was this established with the Grange, this field?
Yeah, so this field here is an X-bean field, and it's basically, it was worked with the Grange, and with the Verdestad. So total cost of doing this field is £53.27 a hectare. So that is just for the cost of the cultivations and the drill. So if Gary just turns the camera around, you'll just see one of the pitfalls that we've got with the Verdestad in a wet year like this. We've got this headland Which, you know, we're not here to show just the good bits.
It's what the Monitor Farm programme is all about. Any suggestions what we should have done here? Welcome. I don't think you'll be the only one across the country with headlands like this after the last year. Trying to look at working to alleviate, isn't it?
But it's completely. No, Gary can't get the angle.
I'm going to bring it a bit closer, Richard. That's it.
So you can see what's happened here is we've basically compacted the soil with, you know, which has been easily compacted because we'd moved it with the Grange, and it was left too loose by the Grange, and then the Verdestad in the wet has just over compacted the headlands, and you can't, once you've compacted it, when the soils are this wet, you're not going to get that out. So
how do you think you'll change that going forward?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting one. So if we go for another little walk, Gary, and we walk just back to the other side of these tractors, we've got another interesting piece of field here that's.
So just a question while moving across.
Go on.
Andrew Melton's message to say, what are you using to calculate those tractor and machinery costs you've just been talking about? How have you come to those?
Yeah, so again, I'll credit Harry Henderson for those, because if you go onto the HDB website, Harry's done the toolkit for machinery costings. Is that the exact name, Teresa?
Yes, yeah, machinery costing calculator. So you can download it, and you've just worked through that, haven't you, Richard? To put in, so you've put in hours and fuel and operation.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's how I've done all these cultivations or costings. Sorry. So hopefully it's not. I put my hood up. It might be quite as windy. So next door field. So we had a Dale drill on demo, and we've also had a weaving sabre tine on demo this year. This field was done with a Dale. It was supposed to be winter beans. Because of the conditions, and we couldn't really drill into some wet clay soils, we decided that we would switch this around and get this drilled into wheat, which actually gave it quite a good test for a tine drill, because all we'd previously done to this field was whip over the top with the carrier at 50 mil and just try and get things chitted and growing. What was quite interesting was the other fact that we chopped the wheat straw on here. Now, there are ridges where the Dale following harrows weren't quite set up 100%. But the cost of running the carrier and the Fendt tractor, Black Fendt did the Dale drilling and the carrier work. The cost of both of those is £36.36 per hectare. So you compare that to the system next door in the neighbouring field. Both these fields were drilled on the same day. So we haven't got the headland effect on here as we have on the field next door. And we've also got reduced costs of production. So, but I'll just dig a spit out just so we can.
And while you're doing that, Richard, questions coming in. I've got the questions coming in about what the variety is on there. What was your seed rate and drilling dates that you've done? Have you put any autumn pea on? Can you answer a few of those while you do that? So autumn pea, no, nothing. So we don't tend to use artificial fertilizers. We are. Most of our fertilising is now done with organic manures, so using a rotation of muck which comes from our cattle or bought in chicken muck. So we're then rotating that around the farm and looking after indices that way, as opposed to applying any other nutrients except for N, which we put on with the sprayer. Sorry? What was the variety?
Variety, this one is Gleam. So this is home safe seed. And then the field behind me is Saki, I believe, which is a new one for us. That was bought in seed. But yeah.
And
so
what
and seed rate was I think the seed rate was about 180 kilos a hectare. Off the top of my head. I wasn't prepared for that question.
Can you remember when you got this 100?
And it's lovely in paradise right now. I hope you're all enjoying your offices, because it's just started raining.
The things you do for us. This is the benefits of being virtual.
So
I've got a few more questions coming in here.
Yeah.
Can I just mention these before? So Tom's come back again and said it's not just a Vardestad with your headlands there, it's anything with wheels. He said they used to lift all the headlands before drilling them, and I think anything but perfect conditions, we need to run the pigtail around the headlands.
Yeah, we've done that before, and we've actually used the dabo that's just over there in the background. If you can still see it or not, I'm not sure, but so we've been down that road and we've done it, but when it's so wet, what we've actually found is that sometimes you kind of need a bit of dry on the day, because otherwise you just make more mud, and that's just don't, it doesn't need any hesitation when it's wet enough to catch on a coulter or something and or bung the drill up. So and then we had one little episode where the drill was found its way into a wet hole, so and we nearly had the same with when we had the Dale, but that was more because of fundamental basics with drainage. And the drain now in the fields and drained it. So
yeah, put it right to be proud. A question related to drainage and rain. So Paul Howland's messaged in. Hi, Paul. And he said, how much rain have you recorded there? He says he's up to 9 inches. And he says also, Richard, drill early and dry and fight blackgrass, or spin on late and wet. So there's a good question for you there from Paul.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, so I don't actually have the exact figure of how much rain we've had, because I was counting. It kept raining every other day. Yes, I wish I'd have maybe drilled a little bit early on, but the backgrass and hadn't come. We knew there was some to come. I think our system, we created our own issues on some fields with using the Grange. We'd gone too deep, and it held on to the moisture, and a bit like what Tom Bradshaw was saying, is unless you had that few days of dry where you actually go through with a pigtail or something to try and get a bit of dry into it, which we chose to sort of drill some other fields where we could. We just haven't had the time frame to drill properly everything. So that's Mother Nature for you. As far as spinning on is concerned, I'm not a big advocate of it. I think at the end of the day, we need to be careful as an industry. It's not legal unless it's naked seed. So I do hope for all those that have been doing it, you haven't had seed dressing on. So, what we have done is we've used our specially adapted elbow, which we've run with our front tank, and that's got us out of a couple of wet corners, and we've managed to get the seed into 30 mil of soil and get it covered. So yeah, what was the other question in there?
I've got a few more coming in. So Stuart said it might be worth mentioning that in the east we've had 270 mil of rain from the 24th of September. So there you go, Stuart. Thank you for the weather update there. Yeah. Just as good as Carol coming in from Suffolk. Rashi said, given the year that we've had, do you think less is more or more is less with regards to cultivations, and in particular with the headland?
Yeah, I think when it comes to the Vardestad, I think the biggest problem is the full width tyre packer. When the ground condition's wet, it's wet. but I think Tom's got a point there with regards how much we move the soil early on, because clearly where we'd only been through 50 mil with the carrier, the fields had drained away, and we were able to get on and drill those without any real issues. Where we deep cultivated, they were just too wet.
Yeah. And James has kind of added, how did the spring tine converted to? Oh, wait a minute. How did the spring tine converted to seed some wheat? Wait a minute. How's it coming up compared to the drilled? Oh, so how was the converted spring tine kind of stuff coming up to where you've drilled it in the other field? Is it established any differently?
Yeah, so it has established differently. It's not fully up yet, and the Verdestad stuff that was drilled right next to it, we got 3/4 of the way up a hill, where we drilled with the Verdestad, and then we finished the top of the field off with the spring tine. And one of the biggest problems we've already had with that is seed hollowing from slugs, and you literally then step over the line where it was drilled with the Verdestad, and there was next to no seed hollowing at all from slugs. It was a it's the first week after rape, so we're not a big sluggy farm, but that it has been slower. There's been more pest issues, which were then exacerbated because we couldn't get the suckers on when we would like to have done because it kept raining. So that Yeah.
But then you did the right thing in terms of metaldehyde and stewardship. So, there's always a silver lining. The slugs are happy, but the water company are happy as well. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, I was basically being reliant on my my beneficials and carabi beetles and stuff eating the slugs, but I think there was just too many slugs for them to catch up.
Talking of that, in terms of BYDV and blackgrass this autumn, like I know you've seen you're quite pleased in some ways you haven't been able to get on, but there was a big blackgrass kind of flush, wasn't there? And actually delaying drilling might have made a difference this year. And what are you thinking in terms of BYDV pressure as well?
Yeah, I mean, as far as BYDV for us, that was one of the reasons we didn't go silly early as well with drilling, because I didn't want to go out there with the sprayer chucking insecticide around, and it looked like it was shaping up to be a pretty bad year. I mean, as it's turned out, a lot of the aphids have sort of disappeared along with the dry weather, and unfortunately, and now we're in this situation where, I don't think BYDV for us is now going to be an issue or anything to worry about until the spring, maybe. So hopefully not at all. So one to watch.
Yeah. Have you used the brilliant AHDB BYDV management tool yet, Richard, to have a look at, see if you're under pressure?
I didn't, but only because we were that little bit later drilling, and I'd already seen on the I've connected up to the suction trap text message service that comes through, and I'd already seen on there where some of my own sticky traps around the farm where there just wasn't as many numbers around. So I took the opinion that with insecticides not being overly effective on them anyway, I was going to be risky about it, so
I tell you, if anybody hasn't yet, that text message service is brilliant, isn't it? Every Friday afternoon, just knowing what's coming in locally, so you can sign up for that via the Rothamsted website. And it's brilliant. It just kind of tells you what's coming in locally at your suction traps at the end of it. So a few more questions coming in. Dale or weaving, final kind of thoughts on that one, or what's your feeling at the moment?
The weaving sank on cultivator stuff. The tail kept going. The tail was trailed. The weaving was mounted. The weaving also put it and left it quite tight into a 50 mil carrier, whereas the the tail seems to have actually alleviated a little bit of that carrier pan layer, which can happen with a carrier. So first impressions really at the moment, with the way the crops are coming up, is for me it's the Dale. It's just got that little bit more versatility about it. That roller that runs behind those coulters actually consolidates the seed, whereas and keeps going in the wet, which I was most surprised about. I expected it to cause more issues than it did. The thing that I don't like about the Dale is if Gary just turns round and looks down the row of wheat, is hopefully you can see the ridged effect that the Dale has left. So in this chopped straw, we ended up with these lumps coming out, and I mean you can still see there's stuff. There's wheat still coming through, you know, and how deep that seed has gone, and it's yeah, it's not great, but that is more operator setup and something which I'm sure we can tweak. But when it's a new drill and you're not used to it, yeah, I can't complain because it was me that was operating the drill. So, yeah.
Well, we can take it to the harvest, can't we, and see what happens. Yeah, that's much better. Thank you. And take it through to harvest and see what happens. Just a comment about aphids here from Andrew saying the apps are very good, but definitely worth getting a feel for numbers out in the field as well. And like you say, with your sticky traps, it's good to know and good to hear, isn't it? Just a quick question about
Teresa. Just quickly, Teresa. What do people want to see? Do you want to go and see the field up there that was catch crop, or do you want to go and have a look in the rape field? Because we can hop in a truck and go and do that now if you want. Or what are people feeling?
Well, we're at about half an hour. I've still got questions coming in,
okay.
But yeah, if you want to message me, if you'd like to go and see the field of rape that was companion crop, wasn't it, Richard? And we could have a discussion about that. If people want to stay on, or we can see the catch crop there.
I can answer questions on the move if you want.
Yeah. Okay. So which way are you going to go, Richard? Are you going to go to the rape?
Should we go rape? We'll go rape.
Is Gary going to drive by of the Dale on the way in your front tank? Don't walk too fast.
Yeah.
The cameraman can keep up.
He's trying to fold his legs up.
What's it like having 5 legs there? So this is do you want to just talk about your front tank while Gary walks past?
Yeah, so this is the front tank that we've made, and obviously we've now got multiple implements that we every month at the moment we sort of build another set of implements to go on the back of the tractor. But at the moment we've got the carrier, so this is forward thinking to catch crops for next year, and being able to move. Depending on what depth we want the seed in, we will move the pipes on the carrier for the relevant seed. So yeah, this is it's coming into its own. We've been drilling some beans with it, with another specially adapted toolbar. So it's all good.
Good. Are you going to turn your video off so we don't go dizzy doing this, and then we'll do. There's a question coming about auto-inflating your tyres up and down. Do you want to ask Barry just to turn this video off so we don't
You can turn the camera off.
Well done. That makes it so it's going to feel funny if we do. The question about, do you auto-inflate your tyres up and down, Richard, or what kind of technology have you got for managing tyre pressures?
Our technology for tyre pressure is just purely us and an airline. But generally what it's only going down, we don't move that far down the roads. We tend to move to a block and work on that block, and then once that block's done, move to the next block sort of thing. So
And there was a question about, have you forward sold any of your glean? And if so, kind of what tonnage have you sold, or what are you kind of expecting to get?
Yeah, so at the moment I'm sort of about 20% forward sold. And I must admit I did back off with that.
Is that
with
because
the
of coronavirus? Or?
Yeah, well, it was quite a lot of different things, really. As you know, I'd been taking advice with from some specialists who have basically been giving me market advice of what's been going on, so which has been really useful, because at the end of the day, trying to watch everything, especially in this turbulent time,
there's a lot to be
yeah, it's quite difficult.
Are you back in the field? Does Gary want to turn the camera on again?
Yeah, do you want to turn the camera on whilst you walk in? So, go on.
Here we go. Just like that, look.
Just like that. So this field here is Mamsey's oilseed rape. And
yeah, we're with you now.
You with us? So yeah. We're just going to get enough up the hill. So yeah, so it's Ramsey's is the variety of oilseed rape, which is a high heuristic rape. And in this part of the field, we've got berseem clover and buckwheat. And this was the last field of oilseed rape that we drilled. So we'll probably stop somewhere here.
Yeah, I think if you just call, it's kind of catching up. So that's it.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, has it caught up?
Yeah, I don't think the signal's quite as good in this field, but we can hear you now.
Yeah. Okay. Can you see though?
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. Okay. So here we are. We're in a field called Dunnets, and we've got our companion crop in with our oilseed rape. We've got buckwheat and berseem clover. The other mix that we were trying had some fenugreek in. I haven't. Yeah. It's this field was drilled on the 18th of August, I believe, and it's definitely, this is about where I'd like to see the rape. A lot of our other rape that was drilled a week previous to this is sort of halfway up my knees and on my legs, and too far forward. The companion crop has basically been smothered out by the rape. But I'm hoping that this field is going to give us some good results on a flea beetle sort of side of things and the larvae. We're going to do some larvae checks in the next few weeks, because we've got 3 defined different areas with our oilseed rape. So we've got the buckwheat and the berseem clover down this end. Then we've got a block in the middle, which is just oilseed rape. And then at the top, we've got the same companion crop, just with fenugreek as well. Now, one of the things that we found out just before drilling was that really that fenugreek wants to go in earlier than all the oilseed rape. And I think that's one of the difficulties, really. You almost got to kind of spin that on, I think, in the previous crop or something along those lines, because this was a wheat field, and this wheat field was the field that was drilled in February. So it was the last wheat field harvested. We chopped the straw. It had a coat of cattle muck, and turned round within 24 hours of the combine leaving the field. We had it in rape, which was, I thank the spreading contractors did a cracking job. They turned up and got on with it, and allowed us to then crack on, which makes all the difference. I don't think this rape would probably, if we'd have got drilled rape another week after, the flea beetle pressure was definitely higher then, and I think this field would have really struggled.
Did you use any starter fertilizer on the rape, Richard?
No, no starter fertilizer, just just organic manures. So we're on a couple of the fields we've got cattle muck, and then another couple of fields we've got chicken muck. So.
And have you got a plan for dealing with those lush crops through the year? Are you going to do anything dramatic, like bring sheep in, or do anything them?
No, I think we're just going to let it run its course. We're going to have to be very careful how we manage the nitrogen on those in the spring, because obviously they are quite lush and quite big. They're going to want nitrogen, but what we've found is that it's going to be a little and often approach with those fields, but they won't need as much of the nitrogen as say these fields slightly further back. But
such a different year to manage some of these rape crops than we've seen before, and it's something we've actually got. I'm running a growing oilseed rape session as part of agronomy week, so on the Monday of agronomy in a couple of weeks' time, and I've specifically asked. We've got Sam Cook from Rothamsted, Sasha White from ADAS, and Sarah Kendall from ADAS joining us, and I've specifically asked them to focus on kind of larvae this time and dealing with lush crops. Actually the flea beetle itself wasn't so much of an issue, kind of how we manage that larvae, isn't it? And I think we're in for quite a different year to the last few years for us in our area.
Yeah, definitely, and it's going to be. That's why this feels more interesting to me, because it is more normal. The other is an extreme for the year, but it's not something we would have every year. Whereas this is a bit more normal. This is about the stage that, I think there's space for the rape to grow, but it's going to be interesting to see what this companion crop brings to the table. It's is it going to be helping to suppress weeds? Will the clover be giving some nitrogen to the rape crop?
Is that the reason why you chose the clover? Because it was quite interesting, the reasons why you chose your fenugreek and your buckwheat and your clover, isn't it? Do you want to just talk through your reasons behind it, and then? Yeah,
a lot of it was advice, but I mean, we tried clover and buckwheat the year before, and the clover didn't really come to anything. But the clover's sort of more trying to bring that in from a nutrition point of view, help keep the plant healthy. The buckwheat is more there to try and give off that pungent smell that it does. And the same with fenugreek, is sort of more of a pungent smell. I'd never heard a lot about fenugreek, so that was a new one, and it just sort of gave us the opportunity to have something different in the field and see if it actually brings anything to the party or not. Because the only way we're going to find out is see. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, see, and something interesting to follow through the year and to look at, analyse the year. Have you actually found any larvae damage in your rape crops yet? Have you had a look for them yet, or noticed anything? Andrew's just asked.
No, I haven't actually done any looking for them or anything yet. I've just been playing in the mud, trying to get the wheat in, being brutally honest. But our attentions are now going to turn, and like I say, in the next week or so, we will start cutting some plants open and doing some assessments. It was actually Sasha White that actually helped us set up our protocol for this, and all the results will be going back to ADAS to help them. And like I say, all our fields have been assessed, and we've got this replicated on each one of the fields. So for each different forward growth of the rapes, they're exactly the same. So we're hoping that we'll get some good information. So.
Be really interesting. We've still got a lot to learn, haven't we? And anything like that we can do less in season, particularly when the seasons are different and similar. So I've got a question that I really need to ask you, but jumping back, and then I think I might round it up from there. So Harry Howell has asked, what fan have you used on your homemade front tank? So good question about your front tank.
Okay, so the front tank is off our old Amazon combination drill, and we're just about to get interrupted by a dog off the footpath. So it's an old Amazon ADP 4-meter drill, and literally the tank is been cut out of that, and we have cut the fan off and reattached it to the side. So it is just an Amazon fan off that front. So, and then we've welded brackets.
You're pleased with it, aren't you, this season?
Yeah, it's given huge flexibility, and it's given us the opportunity to play about and really try and get the right machinery for the farm and try and get things get things working to work with nature rather than trying to work against, which at the moment I would say our more intense system is more sort of like a bit of a sledgehammer for some of our soils. We don't really need to do as much as what we are, but we're in this transition period, and this is something which I'd quite like to just put out to everybody that's out there. I'd love to hear your thoughts on tine drills, direct drills, and catch crops, because for me, catch crops are where an area which I think is a big, I see that as a big way forward for us. The fields that we could travel on with our drill, whether it be the Verdestad or not, the catch crops were what were carrying the drill and keeping the drill running clean. So, and they definitely help with nutrition. And it's just whether the tine disc. Love to hear your thoughts. Let's get some chat going about it. I want to see slot closures from the disc drills. We've had experiences in the past where the slots don't close up behind the tractor wheels in wet conditions. Well, we want to see things that actually work. So let's use the monitor farm and see if we can find out.
Definitely. I know
Harry's about it.
Harry's big claim to fame is that his YouTube video of discs versus tines has got thousands and thousands of views. So, that question is age old, but we're still asking it, and there's no easy answer, is there? So the more we can discuss it and talk about it and share experiences on soil types and in seasons and in rotations is good. So unless anybody's going to message me with any last desperate questions, I think we're getting there. It's been brilliant, Richard, and thank you, Gary and Ben, our technical expert in the background. Thank you so much for doing it. It's great. I want to come back and see how these crops go through, see whether you get the larvae and how those different wheat fields go. So thank you very much, everybody, for sending in your questions and comments and things as we've gone through. It's been really good to ask them, and hope you feel like you've got a bit more of a live farm walk experience with Richard and Gary, minus the rain, with a hot coffee sat in here.
Yeah, hopefully you've all enjoyed it.
Definitely, and we'd be really pleased to have your feedback. A big thanks to Ben Coates for believing in me. This is kind of new, unprecedented times. And it's good to try this. So if you've got any feedback on how this felt compared to a webinar, whether you'd like to see more of it, we've got ideas, haven't we, Richard, that we could get Liz Stockdale in the field and we could look at soils, and you could be on your phone in your fields doing it at the same time, or we could look at this, go around other farms and do a bit over the winter to keep it going. But it feels a bit more live and interactive, and what we like doing in the Monitor Farm programme. So good on you, Richard. There are lots of things coming up from AHDB Online, Strategic Farm Week, Agronomy Week, and all sorts of things, arable review launches. So just kind of keep in touch. If you can't find anything or want more information, just drop me a message and let me know. Richard and we're happy to help, aren't we, Richard, and put people in the right direction. So, thank you for everybody from the Disc Monitor Farm that's joined us today. Thank you for everybody that's joined us today. It's been great to share it with you. Any last words from Suffolk?
Just hopefully you've all found it useful, and I'd just like to also thank the steering group that this is something which, it's an idea that's come from that, and they've all helped sort of chuck me out into this field and said, come on, we've got to do this, we've got to make this work. So hopefully we can do more of this, get out there, and we want to hear your stories as well. We want you to feed back to us so we can, maybe you can do us a little video and send it in to Teresa and of how things go, and we can see on the Dismonitor Farm group, get some chat going.
Yeah, that's always the way to do it. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you, everybody. And yeah, maybe we'll join you from a Suffolk field again soon. Great to see you. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.